This is Act 2, Scene 1. Now, remember that where we left off, Duncan has arrived at the castle. They've had the banquet, and so the nobility, Macbeth, his family, and Banquo, of course, his good friend, all of the thanes who would be present, Duncan and his entourage, they've all now gone to bed, and or are going to bed. At this point, we see Banquo and his son Flynn getting ready for bed. Now, it's important that we see Flynn, and do you know why? Do you remember? This is an echo back to Act 1. Remember the three prophecies given to Banquo, and that one of them regards his children. Remember, your children shall be kings, but you will not be one. And we get to meet that child. Flynn is his name. And so we see Banquo and his son Flynn in those days that were still in the sort of the knights and the squires and kind of that system. Flynn would accompany his father and would assist him with his armor, that kind of thing. And so we see him, this conversation, a very father-son kind of conversation here at the very beginning of Scene 1. They come in and Banquo says, "How's the night?" And Flynn says, "Well, it's dark. The moon is down," which means it's a dark night. There is not, the night is well into the passing of the night. Banquo says there's husbandry in heaven. Their candles are all out. And when he says that, he's saying it is a really dark night. You can't even see the stars at such a dark night. And this, of course, takes us to one of our motifs that we're watching about darkness. He says, "A heavy summons lies upon me, and yet I would not sleep." Boom, back there we go, lack of sleep. A heavy summons. Now, Banquo is worried. A heavy summons, I've got a weight, I'm bearing a weight on my shoulders. This lets us know that there's a core of suspicion in Banquo. He doesn't like this opportunity. He knows Macbeth very well. He also knows Lady Macbeth. He doesn't like what he's feeling about Duncan being there and about this opportunity, maybe, that Macbeth has to manipulate the witches. Well, remember I told you to watch every time Macbeth comes in what has just been said. These are all key, and you need to be paying attention to that. Because just as he says that, he says, "It keeps me from sleeping, these heavy thoughts on my head. Merciful powers, restrain in me the cursed thoughts that nature gives way to in repose." These are the kinds of thoughts that come back out in your sleep as dreams. And then Macbeth comes in. When they say who's there, and he says a friend, that would be a typical greeting. Are you a friend or an enemy? So you'd know whether to be armed or not. Banquo says, "What? You haven't gone to bed yet? The king has gone to bed." And he says, "By the way, Macbeth, the king's feeling pretty generous, isn't he? He's shown you a lot of generosity in giving you that new title, Thane of Condor, and your wife he gave a diamond to. So, you're in high favor with the king." Macbeth says, "Well, I humbly accept all of those things, and I would be crazy not to." Banquo now goes fishing. He's tossing out some bait, and he says to Macbeth, "Macbeth, last night I dreamt of the three weird sisters. To you they showed some truth." Now, this is an interesting thought. Because does Banquo really want to know about whether Macbeth is thinking about those? Or did he really dream about that? Probably not. I can't remember if I told you this before in a video, but it's important when he says weird sisters here, that you know where this word comes from. Weird comes from an ancient word in Celtic religion that is also pronounced as weird. And this weird means fate. People would believe in weird almost with a capital W, and they would talk about that weird almost like God was in control of things and it was out of their hands. The evolution of that word takes us to weird sisters, and many times in those weird sisters then evolve to witches. And so this mention of them as the weird sisters, there's also in mythology these weird sisters as well. So this is a common thing, and of course there's three of them, but you need to know where this word comes from, this weird. Macbeth lies totally, and he says, "Hadn't thought anything about them. No, It's no big deal. Of course, he does not want to play his hand right here, but he should know that, and does get a little idea that Banquo is a little bit suspicious. He's thinking just a little bit about it. But Macbeth says, but Banquo, we do need to talk about this when we have some time. He says, yeah, when we can entreat an hour or so to serve, we would spend it in some words upon that business, if you would grant the time. So when you have some time, we do need to talk about that. Banquo says, sure, at your kindest leisure. Macbeth says, and just put a little word in here for you, Banquo. If you follow what I say at that time, if you will listen to my advice, it might go well for you. Now, Banquo here is clearly suspicious, and his response tells us that. He says, just so, okay, but just as long as I lose none in seeking to augment it, to do what you're asking me to do, but still keep my bosom franchised and allegiance clear. Don't ask me to do anything that would be wrong, that would make me less loyal to my king, or to do anything that would be not above board. I'll listen to your advice if that's the case. Macbeth says, good repose the while. Repose, of course, means sleep. Good repose the while. Hope you have a good night's sleep. When he leaves, Macbeth tells the servant and says, go and bid thy mistress, when my drink is ready, she strike upon the bell. Get thee to bed. Now, this is, you can put air quotes around that, when my drink is ready, because, of course, my drink is not necessarily his drink. But that would be the signal that the guards are ready, passed out, the coast is clear for Macbeth. This is where I got interrupted. I've had to redo this video, but the next part 2 video will start with the hallucination of the dagger. So that's part 1 of Act 2, Scene 1.